Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, sponsored by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. We're lucky enough the last week of August to have a world champion elk caller here in the studio, Tony Gilbertson. Tony, it's great to see you, man.
You too. Thank you.
Looking good, dude. You're all ready for the season, aren't you?
I'm pumped. I'm ready to go.
You've got an interesting one, though. Now, we never have enough time with experts like Tony, but I have to throw this out there. I mean, you're starting out your season in Idaho.
Next Thursday, I'm headed over to Idaho.
Okay, that's got to be exciting all by itself.
A good buddy of mine lives in Idaho, and I was fortunate enough to get a return tag, and I haven't hunted with him in years, and I'm so excited.
Okay, now first I got to ask you a couple questions here. Number one, he obviously world champion elk caller. This is him, right? You're going into your favorite month of the year. I can safely say that. But to leave his own backyard where he's got really good options here as well, that says something, right? And it's not a negative thing, because you can still travel to go chase elk around. Like a lot of us that live here, I say us, like a lot of you. You got the east side of Oregon, the west side of Oregon are obviously our primary locations to chase elk around. And just because I'm an east side hunter and have been for so long, we know that there's a real concern with how dry it is, not a lot of water, possibility of even more fires happening because of the weather that we just saw Michael talk about. What would be some insight for folks that are heading that way that they might want to keep in mind going into this season?
You know, I was just in New Mexico. They were talking about the same thing there. There is just horrible drought conditions. The best opportunity for finding elk are going to be near water, and everybody's going to focus on those areas. So
good point.
If it were me, I'd be hunting those transition areas between their bedding areas and water. Find those main trails, look for fresh sign, find those main trails in between those transition areas, and set up in there and just be patient. You know, early season, the bulls, they're out, if they're not already, over on the east side, at least at home, they're still bachelored up. Some of them are gathering cows, some of the older herd bulls, but a lot of them are still bachelored up. So, you know, just be patient, throw out some really sweet, soft cow sounds and calf sounds, and be patient, because those bulls are going to come in quiet this time of year.
So I got my question, why would it be best to stay away from the wallows or water sources and get in between bedding and those sources? What's the advantage of doing that as opposed to just getting there and trying to sit on the water?
Because I think everybody else knows that hunting water is an effective tactic this time of year too. So,
yeah, good point.
I mean, there's only so much water out there, so that's why I say if you're hunting transition areas, you're going to stay away from those hunters. Maybe try to call them in before they get to the water.
Okay, and you're not being shisty, okay?
No.
That's all part of hunting, right? Especially like we are, you're hunting on public land. So you got to use little tactics that can help you be more successful, or at least put you in a position to be more successful. Now, you said early season, those bulls might not be, you know, all hand up, is what I would call it, but they're going to be looking. And you said be sweet with your calls. What do you mean by that?
Just soft, nothing overly aggressive. You know, they're a little bit tentative, especially the satellite bulls. So you don't need to get aggressive. Those bulls are out looking for cows to herd up with, and just you know, like I said, just soft, quiet, not overly aggressive cow calling. Maybe a locate bugle now and then, just to see what you can get. Sometimes they get territorial early in the season, so you can call bulls in with bugles as well. But they're looking for cows right now.
So you wouldn't say it's a good idea to go down there and just start screaming on your bugle all day long?
No, not at all.
Now, there's a time for that, but maybe
Absolutely.
not the first week would be the best time to do that. Okay,
Right.
So that's talking a little bit about the east side. Obviously, you really need to look into it ahead of time, right? If you haven't been able to scout over there, which admittedly, it's very difficult to ditch for 6-hour drive and be there for a couple of days and then come back before the season starts. We all understand that. But there are other ways that you can get insight on what's going on over there. And I know I give them a hard time, and for good reason, but LeGrand or some of the other locations over there for ODFW are a tremendous source of insight on what's happening right now. You can tell them where you're going. It's okay to tell them what units you might spend your time, but just try to get as much info as you can before you head that way. But let's talk about the west side, which is easily just as competitive, if not more, than the east side.
Yeah.
So what would be some insight for folks that might be doing the same thing that you would normally be doing, getting ready to head out there in the next handful of days?
So I've talked to several buddies of mine, a couple loggers. You know, those guys are in the woods all the time. And the report I'm getting is that there is just a lot of bulls out there this year. So, you know, they're going to be hopefully well dispersed. You're going to have a ton of people, more so I would say than over on the east side in those controlled units. So bedding areas, those transition zones again from between where they're feeding, lots of clear cuts out there. That's your you know, transition zones between their feeding areas, their bedding areas, and again water. You know, we've got a lot more water over here than what they do on the east side, but
absolutely.
I would tend to focus more on those clear cuts early morning. Try to figure out where they're going out of those clear cuts so you can try to follow them. You locate bulls in the morning, they're going to call back at you, but that lead cow in that herd is leading them to their bedding area. So it's hard to call those bulls in first thing in the morning unless you're really close to them and you're a threat. But try to figure out where those bulls are going to their bedding area, get in there close and tight to them. Make some of those soft, sweet cow sounds, and as the season progresses, you get in tight to those bulls. Then you start getting more aggressive with your bugles, and they can't resist to come in. They get territorial and threatening.
Okay, I know you're telling me I got to go, but I have to follow up on this one, or I wouldn't be doing my job. Walk me through this scenario. Okay, you're wherever it might be on the west side, okay? It can be thick everywhere, and you got that big clear cut, and you're looking down in there, and all of a sudden you see that herd. There's a bull in there, a couple of bulls, let's say, and the cow starts to lead them out. What is it that you're focusing on? Where they're going out of the clear cut, and then that's where you want to pick them up? Or are you trying to come back on them in another fashion? What would be your plan once you know where they're exiting that clear cut? Yeah,
so what I do is when I see where they're going, sometimes I get in those clear cuts and I just glass and I can find them. And early season, I won't do much calling, especially in the morning. Like I said, they're headed to their bedding area. So focus on where they're headed, leaving that clear cut. They're kind of creatures of habit when it comes to that. They've got main trails. Follow those elk, hopefully to their bedding area. And if you bust up that herd, you know, they smell you, or you call and they bust out of that clear cut, that bull's going to give a roundup bugle, and he's going to be doing that on his way to that bedding area. So it can be easier to follow that herd if you listen.
Just sit down, shut up, and use your ears. It's really hard for me to do that. We're going to cut to a break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Tony Gilbertson, world champion elk caller. I want to find out how he might help you, even though you're 1 week away from the season starting, maybe to be a better caller. And maybe the best question is when and when not to, which he's kind of touched on that already. We'll be right back.
Outdoor GPS is sponsored by McMinnville Jeep Ram in the heart of Yamhill County, your home for Ram trucks. Experience the clear difference. Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, sponsored by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Tony Gilbertson about this upcoming elk season that starts literally in a week. I know there's a lot of us, and I'm included, that always wait until the last minute. But you mentioned something in the commercial break that could be a hell of a good tactic this early in the season.
Yeah. So as you're following those elk, if you lose track of them, remember those bulls are looking for cows. So one of the best tactics I've used, and it's very effective, is to sound like elk. You don't have to always vocalize like, you know, cow sounds, bull sounds, or whatever. But elk make a lot of noise when they're walking through the woods. So breaking branches, you know, stepping on sticks, whatever, as you're making those cow sounds, go through the woods, stop every 10 minutes or so, and just listen. I've had bulls sneak in behind me, and all you'll hear is them stepping on a branch. And within seconds, they're on top of you, and you're not ready. You got to be prepared. You got to head on a swivel and listen.
Okay, I love that. It's like spot and stalking, literally.
Yeah.
And they might come.
They're stalking you.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but if I could get an elk to chase me, rather than me trying to chase that, it's probably an advantage. Okay, so before we got started, you had mentioned that you just launched a brand new app to help people to become better, more proficient callers for elk. First off, how long has that been available, and what can people learn there? Yeah, it was launched last week when I was in New Mexico. I've been working with Jason Douglas, Greg Benetti, and then Joe Gillia out of New Mexico.
They launched this new training. It's called the Echo Call Training app. Get myself and Joe Gilly on there talking about diaphragm placement. We're talking about diaphragm selection. You've got to have the right diaphragm according to your style of calling and your palate size and all of that. So we go through all the different elk sounds. There's a graph that shows the pitches and the tones as the coach that's on there, and then people can hit a record button, go through and try to mimic that sound. It'll spit out a score. So the best way to learn is to listen and try to practice that, and then you become better.
Dude, that's a great idea.
And it's an awesome idea.
It is. That's an awesome, and I'm, as a lunatic, crazed duck hunter, and I get questions constantly, and I am not a teacher, about learning how to call ducks. Come up with that one too.
They're planning on adding turkey and I think waterfowl too.
I'm telling you, the kids, we need that. The kids would really appreciate it. And for folks that think they know how to call, you know who you are. Could use it as well. I mean, that's also something that you can use while you're hunting, right? Not actually hunting, but while you're trying to become more proficient, you're at camp or whatever it is, you can listen to this thing and train while you're there. And I would assume that that'll help with your mouth reads as well for your bugle, right?
Absolutely.
The whole shebang, everything.
Yeah, everything from cow-calf sounds to bugles. In your truck on the way to elk camp, it's not too late.
Yeah.
You know, Bearded Elk 20, use my promo code, you get 20% off. It's like $28.
So what was the promo code again?
Bearded Elk 20.
Bearded Elk 20, and you'll get yourself, so it's only $28 for the app?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I had when I was learning how to call ducks? It was a tape. Okay?
VHS
a cassette tape, you know, in the truck. And that's where we would drive around year round with our calls in our hands, trying to get it all figured out. It's the exact same thing, except for you get to communicate with like a world champion. Okay, there's a big advantage there. Okay, so that's awesome. Now, obviously being stuck on time, any last bit of advice that you could give someone that's watching the show, or maybe they tell their friends to go back and watch it again, that you could give someone before they head out? Maybe they're starting this upcoming weekend. Maybe they're starting a week into the season. Yeah. Any advice that you can share?
Be prepared. If you haven't already started shooting your broadheads,
you're way late.
You're late, but it's critical. You got to get out there. You got to shoot those broadheads. Make sure, because your broadheads are going to plane. They're going to fly differently in your field points. They're not going to hit in the same spot all the time. Get your arrows and your bow tuned up. Make sure you're in shape. Make sure you've got all your gear in your pack, and get out there and enjoy the season, man. It's on top of us.
It's here, isn't it?
It is.
Man, I'm so jealous, man. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
I know it's always too short, dude. We could do full-blown hour shows with you, although it drives some of our fishing folks out there nuts. It really is invaluable. And it's like, good luck to all of you, right? If you're heading out this week and you're going to be up there when the season starts, just be safe. Understand why you're out there, you know, why you're there. But just like everything that he said, and don't shoot your broadheads for the first time when you get to camp. I'm just going to say it, although I've done it, and it's never a good thing. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Outdoor GPS is sponsored by Yakima Bait, steeped in tradition, innovation, and fishing success. And by Procure Bait Sense, ruthlessly effective.